Media.
Welcome back to Behind the Bastards, the only podcast that this week is talking about Bill Ackman, the patron saint of activist investors, with the great Kim Kelly. Kim, welcome back to the show. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk more about this terrible man.
Robert, you know what I realized in between part 1 and part 2? You know that very famous movie, Pretty Woman? Richard Gere's character.
Yes.
That's his job.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's exactly, like, Gere is... And that was still when it was, like, the corporate raider thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's very much the point of the movie, is that, like, he's kind of a scumbag businessman.
Yeah.
God, the terminology is so much cooler. Like, they should have just kept doing that, honestly.
I agree.
Corporate raider, pirate, yeah.
Yeah, or Avast, etc. At least just own it. If you're going to be a bastard, just be a bastard.
Well, that was one of the more effective things about Hook, is that, like, you know, Robin Williams' character, who's like a grown-up Peter Pan, comes back and, like, one of his old, like, friends is like, oh, you're just like a pirate now. Like, that's all you're doing. There was a really good, one of the Monty Python movies, I think it was Meaning of Life, opens with, like, a good skit about basically that, about, like, a high seas accounting firm, like basically being, like, corporate pirates. It's very funny. Yeah. But then things, at a certain point, they're not happy being, like, evil monsters anymore, and they have to pretend to be making the world better. And that's kind of like the Bill Ackman KT boundary here, is, like, corporate raiders to activists. It's funny.
You know, like, they want to own everything, but they want us to love them for it, and they get so mad when we don't.
They don't want us to act like they're doing what they're doing. They want us to act like they're doing us a favor, right? And when we ended last episode, we talked about how Bill's company makes a shitload of money off this Canadian Pacific deal that this guy, Paul Hilal, puts together. And kind of during the same period where Hilal is executing this masterful turnaround of Canadian Pacific, which is, like, often, like, a lot of people point out, like, this is about, like, the chief perfect example of how well this kind of thing can work, like an activist investing situation can work. This is the best case scenario. While that's all happening, Bill is miserably failing to do the same thing with JCPenney. Like, at the same time as Paul is having this huge success story for Pershing, Bill is beginning to lead the company into a boondoggle with JCPenney. And this is a very fun story.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
This is Jana Kramer from Wind Down with Jana Kramer. So why do they call it a dishwasher? Well, don't worry. It's not a trick question or anything. It's just because it washes dishes. If the filter and the dishwasher itself are dirty, those dishes aren't actually getting clean. That's why you need Cascade Platinum Plus. Powered by 2 times the cleaning power of Dawn, Cascade Platinum Plus doesn't just remove 100% of grease and residue from dishes. It cleans your dishwasher and filter too. So you get clean dishes and a dishwasher that keeps washing. Just scrape, load, and done. Find Cascade Platinum Plus at your local retailer. Cascade is a proud sponsor of the Elton John Impact Awards, honoring those who have helped shape a more inclusive and compassionate world with their artistry, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to equality. Cascade would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of this year's deserving honorees. Don't miss the Elton John Impact Awards podcast, available on June 1st on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere podcasts are heard.
Do you want to find a stress-free way to buy your next car? Start at CarMax and shop your way. And if you want to browse with confidence, get pre-qualified online with no impact on your credit score and shop cars within your budget. From luxury cars to family rides, CarMax has options for almost every price range, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. So, hey, want to get started? Just head to CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Your pet is your bestie, your therapist,
your perfect match. It's easy to love them. It's easy to protect them, too, with pet insurance coverage from Pets Best. Because it's all fun and games until they chew on something they shouldn't. And you get a vet bill to match. With perfect timing, Pets Best helps protect your furry friend and your budget from this imperfect world. Get up to 90% cash back on eligible vet bills from less than $1 a day. Pets Best has plans to cover accidents, injuries, and more. From puppies and kittens to seniors. Find your perfect match plan and get a quote at PetsBest.com. Pet insurance products offered and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC, are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company or Independence American Insurance Company. For terms and conditions, visit www.petsbest.com/policy. Products are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company, Independence American Insurance Company, or MS Transverse Insurance Company, and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC. $1 a day premium based on 2024 average new policyholder data for accident and illness plans, pets age 0 to 10.
So, Bill starts acquiring shares of the legendary American retailer in 2010, and he makes a big play with about $900 million of Pershing's money, and this earns him a seat on the board. So he puts a little under $1 billion into JCPenney's, and he gets on the board, right? And so now he's in a position where he can start dictating and demanding the company make some changes. So let's talk about JCPenney's, right? You grew up around the same time I did.
Yes.
You went to like JCPenney's to family photos, right?
Oh,
Christmas
my God.
pictures and shit.
Christmas shopping with my grandma every year. School shopping before I was like old enough to have opinions about the clothes I wore. Go to Penny's. I was getting winter coats at Penny's with my grandma up until it closed. They
with
got
my
good
mom
coats.
and a book of fucking coupons, right? To get
Oh,
like
of
whatever,
course
like the
coupons.
worst looking bulk clothing that we could be dressed in. Like I didn't look good back then. I'm not gonna
Who
lie.
cared? Dude, the Cherry
Right?
Hill Mall was the center of the universe. I'm from
Who gives
Jersey,
a shit?
so like,
You're at JCPenney's.
yeah, go to the mall, go to Bertucci's, go to the diner, just fucking Americana out. That was the American dream, and they took it from us.
Sit in Santa's lap, all that stuff. They being Bill, right?
Specifically.
So JCPenney's, at the time that Bill gets involved, because 2010 is when he starts buying his way in, one of the biggest names in retail in the U.S. for generations. But by the aughts, it's quite a while, 10 or 15 years at least, into a period of significant contraction. In 1989, JCPenney's sales were about $15.3 billion. By the mid-1990s, it was closing in on $19 billion a year, and in 2006, the highest revenue year, it almost crossed into $20 billion. And that sounds good, like that seems like it's making more money every year, but if you adjust for inflation, that means in 1989, the company made the equivalent of $29 billion as opposed to $19.9 billion in 2006, right? So in 20 years, it's contracted significantly in real terms, right? As Joseph Ginto,
we got the internet,
right? It's not people. We got the internet. We got better stores. JCPenney just like didn't handle that transition into the 21st century very well. As Joseph Ginto, and also, the fact that we have like fucking phone cameras increasingly now and just easily portable digital cameras in 2006, that starts to eat into, because part of what brought people in is you get your family photo, we might as well do some shopping while we're here, right? Like all that stuff eats away at their role in society. As Joseph Ginto explained in an article for D Magazine, by the time Ackman made his investment in 2010, JCPenney had been effectively stagnant for more than 2 decades. In inflation-adjusted terms, the company had actually lost billions of dollars worth of ground that its competitors now claimed. So they're going bad by the time Bill gets himself involved, and Bill has a plan to make JCPenney's great again. And that plan is to rip off Steve Jobs. Right? That's Bill's genius plan, is I'm going to do what Steve Jobs just did at Apple, but I'm going to do it to JCPenney's, and I'm going to hope that shit works, right?
How?
I'll explain. To be specific, the first big activist change that Ackman pushed through once he was in position is to make the company shit-can its current CEO, Mike Ullman. And Ullman had presided over JCPenney's highest revenue year ever in 2006, but he had also been in charge for a lot of JCPenney's decline. He was not a great CEO, right? So getting Mike out, let's call that probably a neutral good decision for Bill to have made. Unfortunately, his next move is to replace Mike with a ringer CEO. And the CEO that Bill wants to put in there is Ron Johnson. And in 2011, Ron Johnson invented the Apple Store. He is the guy that Steve put in position when they needed to create the Apple Store. Ron is the guy who makes it, right? So in 2011, he's a pretty hot commodity. Apple stores have been a huge success. No one can argue the guy was not good at his job. The Apple Store worked very well. It did the thing that it was supposed to do for Apple. He was an enormous success. Business writer Bhavnesh Patel describes Ron as having, quote, built Apple's retail empire from scratch. And as Patel noted, he thinks differently about retail than anyone else. And that's why Steve Jobs liked him. Bill likes Ron because Steve had liked Ron. Right? And I really don't think it went any deeper than that. I think he's like, well, this guy created the Apple Store, and the Apple Store is worth money. JCPenney is doing bad. Apple Store guy, JCPenney's will be doing good, right? I think that's the limit to which Bill is really thinking this through.
Yeah, just do the Apple Store for slacks, essentially.
What of the Apple Store for pants? Yeah, that's Bill's business acumen. That's the Harvard MBA at work. What if an Apple Store, but for perfume that they spray in the air as you walk by? So,
genius.
As soon as... Yeah, genius, brilliant stuff. So Ron is now the CEO of JCPenney's, and he sets to work doing what you'd expect the Apple Store guy to do if given control of a brand like JCPenney's. He remodels everything, all of their stores, to look a lot nicer and to appeal to a high-end clientele. You know how Apple stores look, right? Big glass storefronts. They have...
Yeah.
Lights.
A lot of tables, very open floor plan,
Cold,
very
soulless,
minimalist, but also high-end. Clean, modern, It's good for if you're going to be spending a lot of money on a product. An Apple Store feels like a reliable storefront. I'm about to spend $3,000, and that's a huge amount of money for me on a laptop.
But it also has the energy of a place where I want to buy said $3,000 item and leave as fast as possible.
Sure. Yes. You don't want to stay in the Apple Store, but you do trust that the things that they sell you at an Apple Store will work, right?
Sure.
So he remodels JCPenney's to have a more high-end look. And here's how Patel summarizes Ron's first 6 months as CEO. He has eliminated coupons and promotions, replacing them with an everyday low-price model. He's begun redesigning stores into a town square format with branded mini boutiques. It is a radical, expensive, simultaneous change on multiple fronts. The early data is alarming. Same-store sales are falling sharply. Not just a blip, but a structural collapse. Customers who had shopped at JCPenney for decades are not returning. The store traffic numbers are deteriorating every week. So... 6 months, not a lot of time. They start turning these JCPenney's into town squares with boutiques, and they stop having coupons. It's really once they stop having coupons, people stop going to JCPenney's immediately.
That's not what Penny's is about.
No, you fucked it up, you moron.
Nobody wants Apple Store for pants.
No, and that's the gist of the problem, right? Ron was very good at selling premium consumer tech products, and an Apple Store is a good place to sell a premium consumer tech product, right? iPhones are ubiquitous devices, but most people who own iPhones are not rich. It's not only people with money have iPhones. It's a very normal thing to own. But for most people who are not rich, a smartphone is going to be the most expensive thing that you have on you on a day-to-day basis, right? And your smartphone and your laptop, they're up there with your car and your house as the most expensive single things that you own. So if you're going to be making a purchase like that, and you're not someone with a lot of money, if you're someone who's making $1,000 or a $2,000 purchase, and that's a huge, huge deal, you probably feel better doing that purchase at a place that feels premium and clean and functional, right? But that's not what you go to JCPenney's for, right? And JCPenney's knows this from the jump. Their loyal customer base, the people who keep JCPenney's in business at this point in time, are women aged 35 to 55 whose households made between $35,000 and $100,000, right? These are not people looking for a premium experience. These are people looking for a deal because they have to cut money. They have a family. They have to stretch every dollar. They're not looking for a premium experience, you know?
They want solid, reliable, affordable, mom-friendly. That's Penny's.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we want. That's what the people want.
And what Bron
you can't
is bragging
church up
about,
pennies.
You can't. And that's like Ron's whole thing. His proudest move is that we've brought more than 100 different brand name boutiques to sell their wares in these new town squares that we're designing. And these include brands like Jonathan Adler. He's bragging, we've got these $3,000 couches in JCPenney's now. And it's like, but people don't want to buy a $3,000 couch at JCPenney's for no discount.
No.
That's not why you go to Penny's. And people are pointing this out at the time, according to D Magazine. Quote, if you said, and this is them interviewing an employee, if you said our customer, she can't afford this or that, you'd probably get fired, says one headquarters employee. So you didn't say anything, right? Because this is what we're doing. You know, it's the same thing like this AI shit. If you bring in, like, I don't know if this works here. I don't know if this is a good place to be using this. I think this has actually made our workflow worse. You can't say that. You're not allowed to have that opinion, even though it's accurate, because the boss has said we're doing this thing, and it has to be a good idea, right?
Meanwhile, the customers whose money you want, they go in, they see a nice couch, and they look, oh, I can't afford that. Now they feel bad.
This.
They don't want to come back.
I'm here to get socks. Right. I'm trying to buy like a shirt, like back to school shit. I don't need a $3,000 couch. I got my couch off of Craigslist.
Like, we're going to Penny's. Give me a coupon. Send me. I'm going to Annie Ann's on the way out.
You should know in JCPenney's, unless it's marked down 80%, people aren't buying furniture at JCPenney's. The people who shop at Penny's get their furniture from Craigslist in 2011, right?
I didn't know that they had furniture at Penny's.
Neither
Certainly
did I.
not nice stuff.
We didn't go to that level.
So the fair and square pricing is also a disaster. That's the biggest catastrophe. The fact that they're and again, Bill and Ron don't understand this at all. They're like, well, but the prices aren't changing. We're just not pretending, by having these like, oh, now we have a coupon. We're always giving you. No, that's not how people's brains work, right? And within days of the change, as soon as they stop taking coupons, customers fucking riot. There's an immediate drop-off in traffic. And it says a lot about Bill, how much this surprised him. And here's a quote from Bill. Interestingly, people seem to be happier buying something at 50% off that costs $50 as opposed to it being marked $40 and there being no discount. And that's how Bill interprets this. And you can see he's like, wow, people are dumb. Right? That's the lesson he takes is, oh, we failed because people are idiots and they can't do math. And I thought people were smarter. That's not really what's happened. And here's Joseph Ginto does a good job of like explaining the error in Bill's thinking. Buyers don't just want something that at $50 that's marked half off because they're stupid. They want to buy something at half off because they don't trust that a company's everyday low price is in fact fair and square. This is the American way of haggling. We doubt the price tag, but we don't confront the seller. We simply remain silent about our misgivings until a sale comes around. And at JCPenney's, a sale always came around. In 2011, just 0.2% of all products sold at a JCPenney store were sold at full price. That means Johnson's fair and square was a radical change in strategy, and yet it was never tested with customers before being rolled out nationwide and was not vetted in advance by the board. So they have internal details that show 0.2% of our sales are full price. 99.8% of our sales are discounted to some extent, and we're getting rid of discounts, and they don't even test it. They don't even have like a trial JCPenney's to see if this works and make people happier. They just do it. That's malpractice, right?
They just surprise. Oh my God. That's how the best way to destabilize a working class mother is to change literally anything she's expecting.
Yeah, it's like if your kid turns 16 and you're like, all right, well, it's time for you to learn how to drive. So I am putting you in command of a shipping vessel in the like heading through the Strait of Hormuz. Just drive her straight through, son. You got this. I'm not gonna be on the boat, but you can handle this. Pilot her through.
You're a smart kid.
Like wow. It's malpractice. It's deeply irresponsible.
Oh my God.
And it's very funny to me that Ackman's interpretation is, well, people are dumb and they can't do math. And the reality is, like, you didn't test this. You didn't check to see how people would respond before you did this everywhere. People, your customers aren't the stupid ones, Bill. You're a dummy. That's dumb.
They have focus groups at the mall. It's built in. I've done them for like $20.
My God. Like, we did A/B testing on titles of articles for Cracked, let alone fucking your entire sales strategy. So anyway, I think Ackman and the fucking Apple Store guy rushed to make reckless changes and didn't follow any of the best practices for doing that sort of thing because, hey, it worked at Apple. How could we lose? We've got the guy from Apple. Have you seen how much money Apple makes, right?
Because when I think JCPenney, I think Apple.
Yeah, Apple.
Absolutely the same thing.
It's so they don't even, I don't think Bill thinks beyond it in any way. And when this completely fails, he is caught so hard by surprise. Now, Ron Johnson, for his part, claims initially, after the first 6 months when the company's hemorrhaging money, this is just like the pain inherent to transitioning to a more sustainable business model. Customers are going to come back in time and it'll be fine. We just got to stay steady as she goes. And Ackman is like, we've got all full faith behind you, Ron. We're backing you up to the hilt. Keep going. You know, we'll continue plowing forward. So months more go by, and by the summer of 2012, sales are still down across the board. There's no sign that customers are coming back, and Johnson starts to backtrack on some of his most controversial moves. He reintroduces clearance racks and sales to JCPenney's, but he keeps these expensive remodelings going without ever testing the plan on customers. He never checks to see, do they like the remodeled stores? He just keeps spending insane amounts of money on it, and now no one's showing up at JCPenney's anymore because he screwed that pooch already. At no point were there any hints that his strategy might have a chance of succeeding. But Ackman protected Johnson from calls to replace him, and the work went on. In April of 2012, Johnson cut 15% of the HQ staff in Plano and fired thousands of employees, 19,000 total layoffs. He blamed the company's issues on these people, stating in February of 2013 to the Wall Street Journal that the JCPenney's headquarters staff in Plano had been overstaffed and unproductive. Per D Magazine, as proof, they claimed that employees in Plano had watched 5 million YouTube videos in a single month, and that a third of the time headquarters employees spent on the internet was for purposes unrelated to work. And that's really gross, vindictive ass covering. The only reason you put something like that out, as opposed to doing what like normally you do, which is like, we have to make these layoffs and we're sorry to have to let these talented people go, but that's just the way business works. When you're like, no, they were just watching YouTube videos, you're trying to explain why your strategies aren't still working, and you're trying to blame it on these lazy people at headquarters. It's not their fault. You ruined the company, right?
Yeah, like going after people that are probably being paid a salary that makes it so that they often shop at JCPenney's. Like, you probably should have just asked them what they thought in the first place. You wouldn't have to let anybody go.
No, if they said what they thought they would have got fired. So they stopped speaking up and just watched YouTube videos while the company circled the drain because you clearly weren't going to listen to them.
You know, it's
a disaster. Ron gets let go not long after this point. He's CEO for like a little less than a year and a half. The board brings Ullman back temporarily, and Ackman calls for him to be fired again, even as he's trying to like pull Pershing out from its investments because all of its investments in JCPenney's are bleeding money now. Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks and member of the Penny's board, he's actually weirdly, this is how bad Bill Ackman is at what he's doing. Howard is like a voice of reason here. So Schultz is on the Penny's board, and he makes the unprecedented almost decision to publicly shit talk another board member. It's really bad for your company's stock price if board members are talking shit about each other while the company's going through crisis. And the fact that Schultz does that says a lot about how desperate the situation is. So this is what Schultz says on CNBC. This is the truth. This is not fiction. Bill Ackman was the primary engineer and architect of recruiting Ron Johnson to the company. He and Ron Johnson co-authored a strategy that has fractured the company and ruined the lives of thousands of JCPenney employees. Bill Ackman has the blood on his hands for being the architect and the recruiter of Ron Johnson and then the co-author of the strategy.
Okay, Howard.
Wild for Schultz to be the good guy here, but he's not wrong.
I mean, where was that Howard Schultz when the fucking workers at Starbucks unionized?
Well,
he forgot.
Hey. Hey, he's not gonna eat where he shits. So Johnson's tenure at JCPenney's lasted just 17 months, but in that time, same-store sales fell by 30% and the company lost around $1 billion in cash, roughly equal to Pershing's investment in the company. Ackman resigned from the board in August of 2013 after selling off his entire position, netting a $500 million loss for his company, at the same time as Halal's making billions. Now, at this point, it shouldn't be surprising when I say Bill Ackman, by 2012, is at least as hated as he is respected by his peers in the finance industry, right? Like, not shocked when fucking Howard Schultz is talking shit about you in public like this, and you're on the same board? Yeah, man. One hedge fund manager told Vanity Fair, "There's a saying in this business, often wrong, never in doubt. Ackman personifies it. He is very smart, but he lets you know it. And he combines that with this sort of noblesse oblige that lots of people find offensive. Me, generally not. On top of that, he's pointlessly, needlessly competitive every time he opens his mouth." And then this person immediately asked Cohen, the interviewer, the journalist behind that article, "Do you know about the Ackman cycling trip with Dan Loeb?" And I can't wait to tell you this story about Bill Ackman. But first, we should tell the story of the people who sponsor this podcast.
I'm so excited.
I am too.
Oh my God. I love when they fight. Like, rich dudes fighting is the best thing.
This is Jenny Garth from I Choose Me with Jenny Garth. You know, history is full of surprising little details. And laundry? Turns out it's got its own fascinating story too. Because not all detergents are created equal. Tide liquid laundry detergent isn't just clean, it's boosted clean. For cleaner, whiter, brighter, and fresher results compared to Tide Simply. And those stubborn stains that always seem to show up at the worst times? Tide tackles 100% of common stains for every load, every time. Now, if grease is your nemesis, think food spills, cooking splatters, Tide's got 10 times grease-fighting ingredients compared to bargain brands. And it works in a machine, in any water condition, on all your machine washable fabrics. It's no wonder Tide was America's #1 detergent in sales last year. So if it's got to be clean and it's got to be fresh, it's got to be Tide. Shop now at your local retailer. Tide is a proud sponsor of the Elton John Impact Awards, honoring those who have helped shape a more inclusive and compassionate world with their artistry, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to equality. You won't want to miss the Elton John Impact Awards podcast, available on June 1st on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere podcasts are heard.
Protect your pet with insurance from Pets Best. Plans start from less than $1 a day. Visit petsbest.com. Pet insurance products offered and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC, are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company or Independence American Insurance Company. For terms and conditions, visit www.petsbest.com/policy. Products are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company, Independence American Insurance Company, or MS Transverse Insurance Company, and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC. $1 a day premium based on 2024 average new policyholder data for accident and illness plans, pets age 0 to 10.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Business software is expensive. And when you buy software from lots of different companies, it's not only expensive, it gets confusing, slow to use, hard to integrate. Odoo solves that because all Odoo software is connected on a single affordable platform. Save money without missing out on the features you need. Odoo has no hidden costs and no limit on features or data. Odoo has over 60 apps available for any needs your business might have, all at no additional charge. Everything from websites to sales to inventory to accounting, all linked and talking to each other. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
And we're back. So as you were saying, Kim, these people, it's very funny, like, because we're about to talk about, like, a legendary story, a legendary, like, rich guy beef, because all of the people in this story are, like, rich ghouls to some extent. But there's also, there's the ghouls who you can identify with to some extent as, like, well, this is an intelligent person who's capable of, like, looking at the world as it is and, like, seeing things realistically, and there's this person whose narcissism has completely blinded them to reality. And I love this tale. So in the summer of 2012, Bill Ackman decided to go on a long cycling journey with a group of very rich guy friends. Or at least he's friends of, like, one of them. I think these are mostly friends of his buddy Dan Loeb, right? And Dan Loeb is a triathlete who takes cycling very seriously. He's another multimillionaire investor type, finance dude. As are all the guys in this cycling group, but they're also, like, guys who take cycling seriously, right? These guys are super rich, but they're also, like, serious athletes. Like, Dan Loeb is a competition triathlete. He does marathons. He's in really good shape, and he knows how you handle a long bike ride, right? All of these guys do, but, like, it's not
exactly the wilderness going to Montauk.
Right.
You can stop and get a soda.
But you have to be reasonable about it. If you ride at a reasonable pace, if you don't go more than your body can handle, if you're, like, properly hydrating and fueling yourself, you can get through something like this okay. Even if this isn't something you do regularly. But immediately, as soon as they start cycling, he rides out far in front of everybody, going as fast as he can immediately, as his hyper-competitive instincts, that's how Loeb describes it, drove him forward, right? So, like, he can't handle the idea of, like, well, these other guys who cycle all the time are better at cycling than me. He has to beat them all. He has to be the best. And so I'm going to quote from Cohen's article here, what comes next. As he and Loeb approached Montauk, Loeb texted his friends, who rode out to meet them from the opposite direction. The etiquette would have been for Ackman and Loeb to slow down and greet the other riders, but Ackman just blew by at top speed. The others fell in behind, at first struggling to keep up with the alpha leader, but soon enough Ackman faltered, at mile 32, Ackman recalls, and fell way behind the others. He was clearly bonking, as they say in the cycling world, which is what happens when a rider is dehydrated and his energy stores are depleted. While everyone else rode back to Loeb's East Hampton mansion, one of Loeb's friends, David Tiger Williams, a respected cyclist and trader, painstakingly guided Ackman, who by then could barely pedal and was letting out primal screams of pain from the cramps in his legs, back to Bridgehampton. I was in unbelievable pain, Ackman recalls. As one writer notes, I've never had an experience where someone has gone from being so aggressive on a bike to being so hopelessly unable to even turn the pedals. His mind wrote a check that his body couldn't cash. I love it.
Nice finance joke. Snaps for the finance joke. Well done.
It's beautiful.
Oh my god.
Incredible. Jesus Christ. What
primal screams. Like,
it's such a profound failure of humility, of, like, basic humility, of, like, well, I can't do that.
Weird little guy.
Oh,
he's got to beat everybody. He's got to be the best. Yeah, I could do that. No, you can't, Bill.
No, you
can't.
can't,
And that's
bro.
fine. You don't do this normally.
Don't you wish you could see a guy like that on, like, Survivor or Alone?
Yes.
Yes.
It's always beautiful. You do sometimes, and those are the best episodes.
Yeah,
And it's nearly always a cop on Alone. It's always like someone who was like a cop and came in like, oh, I'm ready to survive. And then they get scared because it's scary.
God, I'm watching the Arctic Circle one right now, and there is a cop, and I am just waiting
for his mind to break.
Yes. Couple more episodes.
So by the time 2012 rolls around, Bill is embroiled in this disaster with JCPenney, and one of his subordinates has a shocking multi-billion-dollar hit with Canadian Pacific, right? And my interpretation is this kind of eats at Bill, right? Sure. That his last big success at his company was someone else, and he has this really public failure. Embarrassing failure at JCPenney's. Bill's got an ego, and I think he fundamentally just needs the limelight that comes with getting the credit for giant, bold business moves. And he starts casting about for a project to call his own. In 2012, he settles on a whale of one, Herbalife. Herbalife is a multi-level marketing company that sells, like, drink powders and nutrition shakes, a lot of nutrition products. Like, what is a nutrition shake? Like, what do you mean you're giving me nutrition?
Oh my God.
Food does that. Are you saying you're selling food? You know?
All my girlfriends from high school, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all the Huns out there.
This is like, before all the MLM, like, documentaries on Netflix. Herbalife, man.
Herbalife.
It was massive.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, I think it still is, but yeah.
It's still out there.
Herbalife's critics will argue, I think accurately, that the real business for Herbalife is convincing people to become Herbalife distributors, which they are told is a great business that will change their lives and make them financially independent. Roughly 90% of distributors either lose money or just barely break even. Many people argue that Herbalife isn't really a business and shouldn't be treated like one, and Bill Ackman is one of these people. He is in the right here, in my opinion, and it's to his credit. This is actually him deciding to do like real activism as an activist investor. So he has his company short Herbalife by $1 billion. Right? Which means that if things get worse for Herbalife's bottom line to a certain extent, his company makes a bunch of money. But the company has to like really flatline for that to happen. And at the same time, he does the Bill Ackman thing where he starts a media blitz. He has this big press release laying out what he thinks are the fraudulent elements of Herbalife's business and saying like, I'm pushing to have, my contacts in the federal government investigate Herbalife. These are the crimes that I think they're involved in. The company is clearly going to collapse in the near future. And the thing that Bill is saying is he's trying to short the company. He's not just saying, I'm going to short the company and I think their stock value will fall by this much. He's saying, I think it's going to fall to zero. I'm betting to short the company, but I want to destroy it. And I think it is going to be destroyed because they're breaking the law and the government is going to come after them, like in the near future, right? That's the thing that Bill is putting out in the press. And that's what he very much seems to believe. And he comes into this wielding all the tools of his trade, right? He's learned at this point you can boost or reduce a stock price with strategically applied publicity, and he uses these same skills to put downward pressure on Herbalife's stock value. He publicly brags that his goal is to reduce Herbalife's stock price to zero, in effect killing the company. And this is admirable. Like, Herbalife's bad. I wish this had worked, and it doesn't. And ultimately, Bill risks everything here on a belief that an ongoing U.S. government investigation into Herbalife will find the company irredeemably corrupt and criminal, right? Bill is a system-loyal guy. The system has always worked out well for him. And he does. It's so sad because for all that I don't like this guy, he clearly sees and recognizes how evil Herbalife is, that it's just hurting people. It's destroying people's lives. It's robbing people. And he thinks, he's like, well, the right thing to do is to use my financial power to kill this company. And maybe I can. But he also has this belief that, well, if what they're doing is criminal, then as soon as the government finds out about it, they'll stop it. Right? So that makes this a good investment for me. Right? And that's key. He's not just an activist trying to do the right thing. He's trying to make money doing the right thing. And he's betting $1 billion on the U.S. government doing the right thing.
Oh my gosh.
How do we think that's going to work?
Bless his heart, as they say in the South.
Yeah, bless his heart. So what Bill doesn't understand is that Herbalife and Herbalife's friends own the system, or at least large parts of it. In 2013 alone, Herbalife spent about $2 million on federal lobbying, but that only tells a small part of the story. Robert Fitzpatrick, an activist with Pyramid Scheme Alert, calls the association of all of these different MLMs and companies that are on the edge or outright pyramid schemes that put money into U.S. politics the pyramid lobby. This is like this vast assortment of dark money groups and industry organizations that exist, quote, not just to curry favoritism from lawmakers, but to prevent its extinction. In other words, because everything that these companies are doing ought to be illegal, right? If they're actually being dealt with based on what they're doing to people, they'll be shut down. So in order to keep this industry from being wiped out, you have to lobby to basically keep crime legal, right? Like that's kind of how the pyramid lobby works, right?
Now that's a good evil name. The pyramid lobby. It just makes me think of it's like the Freemasons.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like,
good work, Fitzpatrick.
Up to something spooky.
And as Fitzpatrick works, the only way that the pyramid lobby can prevent its extinction is to thwart law enforcement and consumer protection, right? Which should be protecting people from pyramid schemes. I'm going to quote next from an article in The Nation about MLM lobbying by Rick Perlstein. Quote, The targets for that campaign are almost exclusively Republicans, for MLM fraudsters are a huge part of the conservative infrastructure. Of course, in the case of the mighty DeVos family in Michigan, the conservative infrastructure and the MLM industry almost entirely overlap. Richard DeVos Sr., number 60 on Forbes' 2012 list of wealthiest Americans, with an estimated net worth of $5 billion made ripping Americans off, founded Amway, short for American Way, in 1959. In 1979, the company was forced by the Federal Trade Commission to tell distributors that over half its distributors do not make money, and that the average distributor made less than $100 a month, a stricture they promptly violated. None of that kept the DeVos family from rising in Republican and conservative politics. After all, between 1991 and 1997, Common Cause documented, Amway-affiliated companies gave $4.4 million in soft money to the Republican National Committee, DeVos and his wife giving $1 million in April of 1997 alone. In 2000, Amway gave $1.385 million in soft money to the RNC, just $500 less than Enron. And DeVos hosted a party starring Colin Powell on his private yacht at the Republican National Convention. In 2004, DeVos and his co-founder Jay Van Andel gave $2 million each to the right with Progress for America 527. And in 2006, his son tried and failed to win the Michigan governorship. So there's a lot of money in the pyramid scheme lobby, and they put a lot of it into politics, and Ackman is not ready for this. Either he just doesn't know this, or he doesn't think about this, or he doesn't think it should matter, because what they're doing is so obviously a pyramid scheme, but legally it's not. Legally, Herbalife is not a pyramid scheme. Legally, an MLM is distinct from that, and Herbalife and their fellow businesses have put a lot of lobbying dollars into making sure that's the case. And so if you want to if you're an actual activist, you would just be like, well, but it's still wrong, and I'm going to fight it because it's wrong, knowing that they have already bought the government and that this is an uphill struggle and that it's not a fair fight. Bill is not ready for that, and so he's totally caught off guard when a lot of heavy artillery comes to Herbalife's aid. There's this swarm of counter-activist investors, I guess you'd call them, right? So he and his activist investors short the company by $1 billion, basically, and then these two billionaires, Daniel Loeb, the guy who had been part of that bike raid.
Bike buddy.
Right, his bike buddy, and Carl Icahn, who is an incredibly sketchy hedge fund billionaire, right?
Yeah.
So these two guys get together on the other side of this deal, right? To fuck Ackman, basically. And they're like, okay, if he's shorting it by $1 billion, all we have to do is pump a bunch of money buying Herbalife stock to put up the stock value until Ackman, all of his short basically fails and he loses all of that money, right? So
I thought they were friends.
Absolutely not. Nobody likes this guy. And yeah.
Oh no.
And that's I'm not a finance guy, but that's all you need to know. If Icahn and his friends can keep Herbalife stock up, Bill loses a shitload of money for Pershing, right? And it becomes immediately, once all of these other guys start putting money into Herbalife, it becomes very obvious to everyone watching that Bill is in trouble, that he might lose this because there's a lot of money arrayed against him. Bill somehow can't see it. Now, there's a documentary about Ackman's crusade against Herbalife called Betting on Zero. It's a good watch because when you watch it, you really get to see how arrogant Bill is at the start. He's very insistent that this is going to work, Herbalife will die, and the U.S. government will punish them, and his short will work, right? You get a good example of his rhetoric and his self-confidence in the clip that Sophie's about to play. This is from an interview that Bloomberg conducted, right? And this is, by the point at which he's being interviewed for this, his company has already lost $500 million on this failed short. So this is him being interviewed by Bloomberg.
Some other investors, and they are able to put together an LBO. What is that going to mean for you?
More opportunity for us to be short the company. I mean, for a couple of things. Number one, in order for the company to be taken private, they need to get audited financial statements. Then they need to be able to borrow money. And if you think about the proposition from a lender or an underwriter of a bond issue, I mean, this would be a big deal, right? So the stock today has, let's say, a $7 billion market cap, an $8 billion, something close to an $8 billion enterprise value. Let's assume they paid $9.5 or $10 billion to offer a premium to shareholders, right? They'd have to borrow $5 billion, $6 billion. This would be a major LBO. They'd have to raise $5 billion of equity capital. I'm not sure Carl is really a big believer in this business on a very long-term basis. But let's assume they could find the equity capital. I think it'd be very difficult to borrow the money. Assuming they could issue bonds to do it, and we were forced out of the trade because the company was taken private, we'd replace the position with credit default swaps, and we keep it going. And this is not...
So again, it can't go wrong. Like,
He's
they
very
can't raise the
confident.
money. There's no way they could do it. It's impossible for this to, right? Like, there's not a hint in his mind that even $500 million down after failing at JCPenney's in a major way, not a doubt in his mind that this is going to work out. It's remarkable, that kind of confidence. And
He's got
again,
shark eyes.
I hate my enjoyment of this, of him being like really arrogant and wrong, is ruined by the fact that he is in the right. I wish he'd killed Herbalife. That would have been awesome.
Right. Yeah. Using your evil money for good. Like,
yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing, though. It's never quite even that, because Bill had hoped to knock Herbalife out of commission via the strength of his own financial power, but he also wanted to get even richer doing it. And when that,
Sure.
it is his. I'll say this: when there's initial difficulties, when it becomes clear this is not going to be easy, he does start getting close with a lot of activists, like longtime, and these are mostly activists in the Hispanic community who have been fighting Herbalife for a long time, because Herbalife does a lot of damage to Hispanic families, right? A lot of people get conned into Herbalife and they lose everything, right? So these longstanding activists who had been pushing for change, Bill, starts working with them. He does some joint events, and you can really see in the documentary that after this first series of blows, and he's down $500 million, he's fucking exhausted and like kind of shell-shocked by it. And these longtime activists are not at all surprised or concerned, because they're activists. They know that you're losing 99% of the time. That's the business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what activism is losing most every time until you win. And Bill he doesn't have what it takes to do that. Like, he can't handle it. He can't take those hits. He's just not ready for it. He's got no armor for it. He can't handle the fact that, like, yes, it's unfair, and yes, you're going to lose. And unfortunately, because this is all tied into like a financial bet, he also can't afford to lose past a certain point, right? Because it's other people's investment money that he's doing this with, that he's losing. And yeah, Bill did say, because back when he was planning to make $1 billion doing this, he did repeatedly talk about donating any of his profits, because he didn't want to he called it blood money. He was like, I don't want to make money off of this personally. And I believe him. I actually don't doubt that he would have donated any of his personal profits. However, as the New York Times noted, the clients who invest in his hedge fund, however, would still benefit enormously. So there's no point at which he doesn't have a financial angle here, right? And that's part of why he's not going to have much long-term appetite to really keep fighting this. I found a good New York Times article from around that period that discusses how Bill used his influence, particularly with Democratic Representative Linda Sanchez of California, and he lobbies her to send a letter to the FTC demanding an investigation of Herbalife. Per the Times, corporate money is forever finding new ways to influence government, but Mr. Ackman's campaign to take this fight to the end of the earth using every weapon in the arsenal that Washington offers in an attempt to bring ruin to one company is a novel one, fusing the financial markets with the political system. To pressure state and federal regulators to investigate Herbalife, an act that alone could cause its stock to dive, his team has helped organize protests, news conferences, and letter-writing campaigns in California, Nevada, Connecticut, New York, and Illinois, although several of the people who signed the letters to state and federal officials say they do not remember sending them. An investigation by the New York Times has found out. So, maybe a little sketch there, too.
Wow.
Oh, that real grassroots organizing right there.
Real grassroots stuff. Now, ultimately, the weight of hedge fund guys wanting to see Bill fail was greater than the weight of money and government scrutiny that Bill could bring to bear on Herbalife. And this is unfortunate that he loses. I do wish that he had won here. But it's worth exploring, because the reason he loses is that a lot of other rich assholes are willing to go to war with him and risk their own money because they feel like they can beat him and take his money, right? And to look into that a little bit more, I want to quote from that article for Vanity Fair that Cohen wrote. It's Ackman's perceived arrogance that gets to his critics. The story I hear from everybody is that one can't help but be intrigued by the guy just because he's somewhat larger than life. But then one realizes he's just pompous and arrogant and seems to have been born without the gene that perceives and measures risk. He seems to look at other members of society, even legends such as Carl Icahn, as some sort of subspecies. The disgusted, annoyed look on his face when confronted by the masses beneath him is like one you'd expect to see from someone confronted by a homeless person who hasn't showered in weeks. You can almost see him puckering his nostrils so he doesn't have to smell these these inferior creatures. And that's interesting. That other, like, psychopathic... And Carl Icahn, heck, this guy defends Carl as an icon. Carl's a bad person. We'll do an episode on him at some point. The fact that the issue these guys have is that, well, he doesn't like us either. He treats us like we're beneath him too. Not just poor people, but other rich people who he doesn't think are like as good a people as him. He's a real dick too.
Man, I mean, there's no solidarity amongst thieves, but they really don't like that one specific guy.
No. Yeah. There's some of the thieves have solidarity against this specific thief.
Or no honor amongst...
Yeah.
Either way, like, you gotta be a real jagoff to fail out of the rich jagoff club.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So this all culminates in a giant fight between Carl Icahn and Bill Ackman on CNBC in 2013. And Sophie's going to play a very short segment of this very remarkable clip. You don't often get to see two billionaires embarrassing each other like this on live TV. It's very funny. We're just going to play you a brief little segment of it. This is Bill.
Thing called me up and he literally said, Bill, we can be friends now.
I never said that I want to be friends with you, Bill.
Okay, let's move on.
I wouldn't be friends with you.
Let's
You're
move
the worst man on earth. Hey, listen, if I'm going to admit it, I'm not going to... Then I don't...
He called me and said he wanted to be friends, actually, after this. We're going to be... Bill. That's Bill being like, Carl called me and said I want to be... I didn't say that to you. What? I
You're
don't want
the
to be your
worst
friend.
man on earth.
It's incredible.
It's so funny.
That's hilarious.
So funny.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
It would take years for Bill to give up on his crusade against Herbalife, but the short summary is that he did lose badly in the end.
Yeah.
In November of 2017, Herbalife stock ended up 51% year over year, which is really bad if you're shorting them. This inspired Ackman to cut his short position and convert it to a put position, but that doesn't really work either. In June of 2019, he dumps all of his remaining positions, effectively acknowledging that his $1 billion bet had been a failure. Herbalife stock went up 6.3% at the news. And we'll talk about what happens next for old Bill. But first, what happens next for you is these ads.
This is Jenny Garth from I Choose Me with Jenny Garth. You know, history is full of surprising little details. And laundry? Turns out it's got its own fascinating story too. Because not all detergents are created equal. Tide liquid laundry detergent isn't just clean, it's boosted clean. For cleaner, whiter, brighter, and fresher results compared to Tide Simply. And those stubborn stains that always seem to show up at the worst times? Tide tackles 100% of common stains for every load, every time. Now, if grease is your nemesis, think food spills, cooking splatters, Tide's got 10 times grease-fighting ingredients compared to bargain brands. And it works in a machine, in any water condition, on all your machine washable fabrics. It's no wonder Tide was America's #1 detergent in sales last year. So if it's got to be clean and it's got to be fresh, it's got to be Tide. Shop now at your local retailer. Tide is a proud sponsor of the Elton John Impact Awards, honoring those who have helped shape a more inclusive and compassionate world with their artistry, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to equality. You won't want to miss the Elton John Impact Awards podcast, available on June 1st on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere podcasts are heard.
Your pet is your bestie, your therapist, your perfect match. It's easy to love them. It's easy to protect them, too, with pet insurance coverage from Pets Best. Because it's all fun and games until they chew on something they shouldn't. And you get a vet bill to match. With perfect timing, Pets Best helps protect your furry friend and your budget from this imperfect world. Get up to 90% cash back on eligible vet bills from less than $1 a day. Pets Best has plans to cover accidents, injuries, and more. From puppies and kittens to seniors. Find your perfect match plan and get a quote at PetsBest.com. Pet insurance products offered and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC, are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company or Independence American Insurance Company. For terms and conditions, visit www.petsbest.com/policy. Products are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company, Independence American Insurance Company, or MS Transverse Insurance Company, and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC. $1 a day premium based on 2024 average new policyholder data for accident and illness plans, pets age 0 to 10.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Business software is expensive. And when you buy software from lots of different companies, it's not only expensive, it gets confusing, slow to use, hard to integrate. Odoo solves that because all Odoo software is connected on a single affordable platform. Save money without missing out on the features you need. Odoo has no hidden costs and no limit on features or data. Odoo has over 60 apps available for any needs your business might have, all at no additional charge. Everything from websites to sales to inventory to accounting, all linked and talking to each other. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Mom, can I have Lingo Kids? Dad, Lingo Kids, please!
When did we become the Lingo Kids house?
No idea. Last week it was dinosaurs. This week it's...
Lingo Kids!
Why Lingo Kids?
Because it's the best thing ever. We can play games with astronauts, wild animals, and superheroes.
With more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows, Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids.
So, no dinosaurs?
And dinosaurs! Lingo Kids!
Everything kids love. Download it for free.
And we're back. I do feel bad that Bill lost against Herbalife. Like, I wanted him to kill him, but...
Yeah.
It's like, who do you root for? You, like...
I would have been happy in this case if he'd made $1 billion fucking up Herbalife, but he doesn't. He kind of does the opposite.
He made it stronger.
He makes it stronger, kind of, yeah. Bad news. Again, you can't, in this case, you can't use the master's tools to dismantle the master, right? That's a flaw, not a statement I always agree with, but certainly in this case, it's proven true. So, I'm not going to spend all of the rest of these episodes listing all of Bill's hits and failures, right? Because he does have a lot of other hits. He's not just fuck-ups. He makes a lot of money activist investing in Chipotle. He also loses a bunch of money. He makes like a $200 million investment into Borders, which fails spectacularly. Because like they file for bankruptcy not long after. And Bill acknowledges this investment as a big mistake, but right after making the investment in 2010, he got on CNBC's Fast Money and said, "I think the company is stabilized. The stock trades as if it's going bankrupt, but we don't see that as a likely behavior. I think Borders is much more attractive risk-reward than Barnes & Noble. Ultimately, I think the industry may consolidate. The two companies may become one." And that, again, very telling of Bill, that he's like, well, the stock's acting like the company's going bankrupt. Probably not going to happen, though. Good place to park $200 million.
This man has killed every company my grandmother loved.
It's funny, yeah. So
what a bastard.
And the fact that none of that, because that article is from 2010 when Bill's record was much better, but the fact that none of his predictions here are right makes something I found at the end of that CNBC article very funny. For a donation of $1,000, you can be among a small group of 200 people who have the opportunity to gain investment insights directly from Bill Ackman during the Harbor Investment Conference. Oh boy, wish I'd gotten some of those insights.
Damn. What a scam.
So, by the time we start approaching the Trump years, the bloom is firmly off the rose in terms of Bill's reputation as an investor. Now, he's still a multi-billionaire. He's worth $8 or $9 billion. His fund is still worth a lot of money. He has a lot of successes. It's not like he always fails. There's always successes alongside the failures. But his big hits are about as numerous as his big failures. Central to each of these is Bill's fundamental unwillingness to acknowledge the possibility that he might ever be wrong. Herbalife was definitely going to hit zero. Ron Johnson was for sure the right guy to fix JCPenney. Borders can't go bankrupt, you know? In early 2015, Ackman's hedge fund started putting money on Valiant Pharmaceuticals. Their business was acquiring small drug companies, firing people, and then jacking up the price of medication. And Ackman thought this was a great idea. Awesome business to be in. Per an article published on LinkedIn, he believed Valiant represented the future of pharmaceutical efficiency, cutting out traditional research and development expenses in favor of acquisitions and pricing power. Yeah, why actually figure out how to make drugs when we can just cut up companies that are actually doing research and selling them for scrap? The only thing I do. Now, long story short, everything goes wrong with this investment. As soon as Bill puts money down, the SEC starts scrutinizing Valiant for price gouging. And Bill, when people are like, hey, should we pull our money out? This could be an issue. Bill refuses to see it as a problem. He doubles down, increasing his stake in Valiant even as the stock tumbles. It's a classic case of overconfidence and just like this psychological trap that these guys find themselves in where they're like, no, the market's got to correct. It's got to correct. It's got to correct. And they just never get their shit together.
Wow.
In the course of a year, Valiant stock goes from $250 a share to $10 a share. Pershing Square loses like $4 billion, and Bill's reputation takes a hit from which it has not quite recovered. But by 2019, he was in the black again, posting a 58.1% return that year. So again, another massive fuck up and failure to see things, but overall, in part because he's working at a big fund, he has employees like Hilal who are making good decisions. The company overall is doing really well. That's not unrelated from all of Bill's decisions, but you've seen now he's made a lot of fuck-ups too.
Right.
For Bill, redemption for all of his failures would come during what was, for everyone else, a very bad year, 2020. In the spring of that year, not long after the first U.S. cases of COVID-19 were confirmed, Bill began positioning himself to basically short the U.S. economy. Over the course of 10 days, he bought a bunch of credit default swaps on corporate bonds. These are agreements where the seller pays the buyer if a specific debt defaults. They're a bet on things getting worse very quickly. As Ackman later said, there was this massive storm coming. We could see the storm, but everyone else was playing on a beach. It only cost us $27 million. 10 days later, it became worth $2.6 billion. We took that money in March of 2020 with the market down 30%, and we bought stocks. So Bill and Pershing make a fortune betting, correctly, on economic disruption caused by the pandemic. But Bill doesn't just put his money there. He uses his PR savvy to stoke as much fear, uncertainty, and doubt as possible on the market. At least that's what some people will argue. On March 18th, which is about a week into him starting to make these investments, he posts this long Twitter thread addressed to President Trump. Mr. President, the only answer is to shut down the economy for the country for the next 30 days and close the borders. Tell all Americans that you are putting us on an extended spring break at home with family. Keep only essential services open. The government pays wages until we reopen. And shortly thereafter, he gave an interview with CNBC in which he warned hell is coming. As Brian Baker wrote in an article for MSN, Ackman had essentially bet on the U.S. economy undergoing a massive short-term shock due to the lockdown, and some believe his messaging induced further panic. And this is kind of morally, nothing Bill said is wrong. Like, that is accurate, right? Both in terms of what Trump should have done, kind of what he did, and also true in terms of like, yeah, hell was in fact coming for large segments of the U.S. economy in that period. And it's not wrong to say that or urge a lockdown, but is
he's
it wrong
doing
to
it
do
for
that
his
when
wallet.
You've shorted the economy as part of an investment strategy?
Yes,
maybe that's kind of, evil, right? Some
it's
people
still
might
evil.
say.
Yeah. You can't be saying something that's a little bit right or a little bit helpful doesn't mean all of the evil. It doesn't cancel it out.
Or the fact that you're doing it to make money, not because you want the country to do the right thing, right? As Brian Baker wrote in that MSN article, one of Ackman's many critics was Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz, who reacted to Ackman's CNBC interview with a request for the network. Please get Ackman off CNBC before people start jumping off bridges.
Oh, man.
Stephanie Ruley, a former banker and MSNBC correspondent, called Ackman's rhetoric wildly irresponsible. In putting on that grand show while he was getting choked up and talking about his father, he caused the markets to puke and he caused the circuit breakers to trigger, she told The Guardian, adding that it was perplexing to see Ackman cause such a scene since he was very well respected. I'm not emotional about investments, Ackman once shared with the New York Times. Investing is something where you just have to be purely rational and not let emotion affect your decision-making, just the facts. And that all makes me think, yeah, Bill kind of was trying to stoke. He was not wrong, but he was also specifically wanted to stir things up because it would be good for these investments he'd made. Right?
There's this whole pattern that you've laid out of him doing that
he does
a lot.
That a bunch. Yeah. It's not a conspiracy theory, really, when that's how he got rich. Yeah.
Like his preferred tactic, one might say.
That's how he makes his money. So Bill had previously been someone that you couldn't accuse, at least. One thing we can say about him up to this point, not a right-wing hardliner. Going after Herbalife is not a conservative thing to do, right? That's actually arguably a progressive thing to do. Not necessarily the way he did it, but we'll give some credit there. But during the Biden years, he goes on a rightward lurch that seems somewhat out of place given his enmity to a major Republican Party donor, and a lot of it is explicable. A lot of his rightward tilt in the latter Biden years is explicable by the fact that on October 7th, 2023, Hamas carries out a massive raid on Israel, right? We all know about what happened there and what's continued to happen. And Ackman is a huge supporter of Israel, right? He has taken the most Israel hawk approach and interpretation of everything that's happened ever since, right? That is the kind of guy that he is here. And when students on college campuses started protesting Israeli atrocities in response to the October 7th attacks, Bill got activated, right? What particularly tips him off, he's obviously horrified at the raid itself, and then he supports Israel's response. And when it becomes clear that a lot of Americans don't, and that the kind of media shield that Israel has enjoyed in a lot of its responses and a lot of like the violence that it's carried out over the years is failing, right? Especially as things escalate to outright genocide. Yeah. Ackman cannot take that. Right? Like that is not a thing that he likes to see. And it's particularly all of these college student protesters that drive him crazy. He is livid at the fact that there are protests on the Harvard campus. And he demands publicly that Harvard name any students who, quote, blame Israel for the attack so that he and other CEOs wouldn't inadvertently hire any of them.
I remember that. That was
this is a big news, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Harvard, doesn't. For one thing, they don't have data on that. Right?
It's not
how would they know?
This is why you never sign up for protest kits.
Right. So when Harvard refuses, he grows angrier. Per an article in New York Magazine by Kevin Dugan, his attacks against the university started picking up steam following the December 5th congressional hearing with the presidents of Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. During questioning from Representative Elise Stefanik of New York, Harvard President Claudine Gay didn't explicitly agree that calling for genocide against Jewish people would violate Harvard's speech standards. She said it was personally abhorrent to her and later apologized. Ackman then amplified Stefanik and conservative activist Christopher Rufo in attacking Gay, as well as Liz McGill of UPenn and Sally Kornbluth of MIT for equivocating about anti-Semitism on campus. In this, Ackman was not quite a leader in the crusade, but a strong supporting member of the team in demanding the resignations of all three presidents. And I'm not going to relitigate the Claudine Gay plagiarism controversy thing here, because honestly, I just don't find it that interesting. It should never have really been that big a deal, right? Harvard initially promised to support her, but Ackman stayed on the attack, arguing that she had plagiarized or failed to properly cite sources more than 50 times. And Gay had made some mistakes. She submitted corrections to at least 3 of her papers. I don't care to go to bat for her or to condemn her for a bunch of mild malfeasance to moderate malfeasance in her college years. I just don't care all that much.
Does that even matter?
No. He also, but Bill does. Bill is really obsessive about this. And he also tweets at length about Mark Gorenberg, MIT's chairman, for reasons that are a little less clear, because Mark's not really involved in a college, protest controversy thing, but Bill has issues with Mark's wife. Per Kevin Dugan, writing for Vanity Fair, the connection here is that Gorenberg's wife, Catherine Stickney, is the founder of Parity.org, a nonprofit that advocates for women in business. To Ackman, though, Parity.org is part of the larger problem on college campuses, which have taken on diversity, equity, and inclusion management philosophies. Under DEI, one's degree of oppression is determined based on where one resides in a so-called intersectional pyramid of oppression, where whites, Jews, and Asians are deemed oppressors, and a subset of people of color, LGBTQ people, and or women are deemed to be oppressed, Ackman wrote. In Ackman's original tweet about Gorenberg, he insinuated that Gorenberg had improperly used MIT to fund Stickney's organization. He noted that Parity.org reported no revenues and received all of its funding through MIT-associated funds. In short, this does not look like a legitimate nonprofit. Rather, it looks like a sinecure for the wife of the chairman of MIT, he wrote in a follow-up tweet. So he's going hardcore into anti-DEI hardcore into protests on campus, anti-Semitism on campus. He really hates the fact that this guy's wife is working for an organization that's trying to improve equity. He's getting into all of these weird right-wing
women in business are
things.
Not really.
Yeah.
He doesn't like that.
Yeah.
That's like a hard line.
And this is very, you can draw a line to that. You can draw a line to his earlier issues at Harvard while he's writing his thesis there. Now, Ackman ultimately backtracks on some of his allegations against Gorenberg's wife, but he continues accusing Gorenberg of tax fraud. And this doesn't really work out in the long run. But, it does in some of these cases. They do succeed. Bill and his fellow oligarchs succeed in getting several college presidents shit canned, including Gay. Although Bill is really unhappy that she doesn't get fired by the university, she's still employed as a professor. Writing for The Atlantic, Kurt Anderson describes what happened next. When former President Gay was hired, I knew little about her, but I was instinctually happy for Harvard and the black community, Ackman posted while on holiday in the Caribbean, the day after he'd helped force her out over her plagiarism. But now, given her handling of the Harvard anti-Israel protests, he'd realized that she was not qualified, having been chosen by a board looking for a DEI-approved candidate. And by the way, in light of the amount, nature, and degree of plagiarism that had surfaced in her work, why wasn't she also booted from her tenured Harvard professorship? The very next day, Business Insider, and this is the day after she's fired. He can't let up on this. He's got to keep stomping on this woman, trying to get her career entirely destroyed because she had the temerity to be like a woman who wasn't mean enough to people he didn't like. And the day after this happens, Business Insider publishes an article of their own. And this one was this is another plagiarism investigation. This one was into plagiarism by an artist/technologist who was also a former MIT professor named Neri Oxman. Neri Oxman just happened to be Bill Ackman's wife. This is his most recent wife.
I was going to say, what happened to Karen?
Not in the picture anymore. We've got Neri in here now.
She got out.
I try to avoid generally talking about people's families here, but this is unavoidable because this is a big part of the Bill Ackman story. Now, the reality is that Neri Oxman's plagiarism was, in my opinion, about as serious as Claudine Gay's, and that no one reasonable should care about this all that much on its own. These were all pretty minor examples of people screwing up and being lazy, right? But where Ackman had seen Gay's mistakes as damning, he sees his wife's as defensible. And this is what's funny, right? And I think Business Insider was right to publish this. If none of this had happened, if Ackman hadn't gone after Gay, I would say this article would have been in bad taste. But because Ackman makes himself into this anti-plagiarism activist, it's pretty relevant that his wife does the same thing that Gay did, right?
That's almost cinematic. Like that's that feels made up. Like it's too perfect. Except I'm sure they came with the receipts.
Yeah, and I got to continue with a quote from that Vanity Fair article here. His invented euphemisms include, this is to talk about how he defends his wife. His invented euphemisms include clerical errors. He invents a statistical metric as well. Because only a few of the 2,774 paragraphs in her thesis contained text copied from elsewhere without quotation marks, she had an error rate of 0.1141%, which is pretty darn good, and her error rate for sentences even better. On a per-sentence basis, she doesn't plagiarize all that much. And he's writing like 5,000-word essays that he's like publishing, defending his wife, and talking thousands of words, talking about his wife's plagiarism, but how it's not bad, but it just looks terrible for her. Because your husband's putting out...
Streisand effect in the whole thing.
Exactly. If your husband's putting out a 6,000-word article every day about like how your plagiarism is defensible, doesn't make you look like a good academic. Unfortunately.
The lady doth protest too much, except the lady is your wacky rich husband who everyone hates.
A little bit. So, defending her 15 I'm going to continue with that quote. Defending her 15 uncredited cut and pastes of passages from Wikipedia of all sources, the pathos and comedy are extreme. I am sure that when Neri wrote her dissertation, she was 33, she thought that there was nothing wrong with using Wikipedia as a dictionary, he writes the day after the story broke. In his later, longer apologia, he reveals what he thinks is a gotcha loophole that exonerates her completely. The good news is that their lawyers used the Wayback Machine to discover that MIT's Academic Integrity Handbook did not require citation or even mention Wikipedia until 2013, 4 years after Neri wrote her dissertation. Yeah, man, that sounds good. That makes your wife sound like a serious thinker. Good work, buddy.
Oh, geez, really just the technicalities are not helping.
Ouch. And again, do I think this is all the worst stuff in the world, worthy of like multiple investigative pieces of journalism? No, but you kind of argued that this was. And so the fact that people are doing this to your wife now kind of turned about as fair play, Bill. So Bill had been reached out to for comment before the article was published, and he blamed weak Wi-Fi for being unable to respond in time. The Business Insider journalists had extended their deadline, but Ackman and Oxman couldn't make it because it would have required postponing their flight in their private jet to do so. And he complains that this is unfair. Bill takes to Twitter to defend his wife, and of course, she is soon the #1 trending topic because Her husband will not stop tweeting about her plagiarism allegations in a very funny way.
Wow. They have Wi-Fi on those private jets. So that's nonsense.
It's nonsense. In one of his early posts, he bragged that none of Business Insider's reporting would interview with Neri's success because she made the brilliant decision to leave academia, in some part due to her marriage with me. She made the good financial decision to marry a billionaire, so it doesn't really hurt her that she's being dragged through the mud here. Also, she's already raised a lot of money for her own startup, so she's doing fine. Then he turns around after saying none of this has hurt us at all. He turns around and says, Business Insider's reporting has been catastrophically damaging to my wife. He threatens legal action. He goes to the people who own the company that owns, he's trying to do everything he can to get these articles retracted, to get Business Insider to pull the piece, to do damage to these reports. He so wants this to go away, and no one's willing to play ball with him. Even the people who should be on his side because they're other Trumpy business people aren't willing to go to bat with him to purge this article about his wife.
Because he's too annoying.
He's too annoying, and he's just again, you can't both say this doesn't do any damage to us at all, and also I want to be able to sue for damages. He claims Business Insider's campaign to destroy Neri could have literally killed her, and then insists she only survived because of profound love and support from me. My wife would have died because of how mean your article was if I wasn't such a good husband.
Your mean tweets were actually bombs lobbed into our family home. You have to give me more money.
It's funny as hell. So Bill took time in this whole embarrassing episode to lick Elon Musk's boots, posting, "We should all be grateful that X is owned by Musk." He insisted that he and Neri would not have been able to respond in such a rapid fashion without Musk's free speech absolutism. And then he drops this chestnut. The code of the road was that you can attack the protagonist as much as you want, but not his wife and his kids. First off, Bill, you're not the protagonist. I'm sorry, man. And second, you attacked fucking that guy at MIT's wife for no reason, man. In the 2024 election, Bill Ackman officially endorsed Donald Trump, completing his transition to MAGA guy. And the year and change since, or 2 years or so since, he has remade himself into a total stooge of the administration.
Yeah.
In February of 2026, he was like, the Epstein files have become a McCarthy era thing. It's reached this McCarthy stage. Innocent people are being slandered. We got to stop looking into the Epstein files. Right? More recently, literally just in March, at the end of March, he made a public statement that this is the best time ever to buy quality stocks because of how much damage has been done to the global economy because of Trump's new Iran war. Great time to get into stocks.
What is he up to? He's doing something.
Speaking of that war, immediately after Trump launched his new war with Iran, Bill declared it would be a very good war. Per Newsbreak, Iran has been, I think, a major funder of anti-American protests and kind of otherwise, Ackman told reporter Sarah Eisen. I think the war is a very good one. The war is a very good one, she repeated. It's very unpopular, though. Ackman predicted its near conclusion. I think we're almost done, he said. I think it's weeks as opposed to many months, a few months as opposed to, it's not years. This is towards the tail end of a war. On whether the war has made Ackman think differently about investment opportunities in the Middle East, he said the Middle East has been reset in a very positive way. It's not been good to be a terrorist in the last couple of years. The greatest enemies of democracy have been set back in a dramatic way. And what makes this so funny to me is that on February 11th, not all that long before Trump started the war, Bill had his annual investor day, and he told everybody, I don't foresee any black swan type events on the horizon. They're going to bring about an opportunity for cheap asymmetric trades. There's not going to be a sudden massive change to oil futures that we could take advantage of. Nothing like that's going to happen. And then 2 weeks later, oil futures jump 40%, and Bill totally fails to cash in, right? This is like a COVID-level market disruption, and he completely fails to make a buck off of it because he's now completely been taken over by the ideological stuff. He can't actually look at the world as it is and make good decisions anymore. It all has to fit into this ideological schema that he's gotten trapped in. So he can't actually identify real weaknesses and opportunities anymore, which is why I'm not going through all of his. He tried to launch a fucking investment fund that was a catastrophic $25 billion failure, and he's trying to relaunch it now at a lower cap, and it's not going to work. I think Bill is still rich and always will be. he's not going to suffer for this other than that. I don't think he's capable of really seeing the world in the way that he used to be able to make the good business decisions he was, because he's become completely caught up in the ideology of it all. Like, he's not actually looking at reality anymore. And that's where we'll end the story for now.
What a guy.
Yeah.
The business, he lost his business mojo. Now he's just a jagoff.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the tale of the activist investor. How we feeling?
I learned a lot.
Good.
Man, I'm so, because I had seen this tomfoolery on Twitter. I was like, who's this guy? Like, who's this jagoff?
Yeah.
But just the decades of buildup to him becoming this specific flavor of jagoff, that really makes it so much sweeter to see him fail, and to now know that I should actively be rooting against him.
You should be rooting against him. Absolutely. Yes.
Wow. Kim, you want to plug your books one more time for the audience here before we head out?
Sure. If you were listening to this and wondering what were the workers up to, how are they doing, you might enjoy the books I've written about workers. Just the young adult or the young readers edition of my book just came out. It's called Fight to Win, for ages like 8 and up. It's really cute, very diverse, inclusive, all these things that Bill Ackman does not like in book form for your young rebels and radicals. And a few years ago, I wrote a grown-up book called Fight Like Hell, The Untold History of American Labor. Just kind of like
excellent,
a people's history of labor in America. Sweet. And I think it's pretty good. It's still out there. Get it from the library. I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Check out Kim's book and don't check out Bill Ackman. Pay very little attention to Bill Ackman, actually. That's the best bet. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Full video episodes of Behind the Bastards are now streaming on Netflix, dropping every Tuesday and Thursday. Hit Remind Me on Netflix so you don't miss an episode. For clips and our older episode catalog, continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@BehindTheBastards. We love about 40% of you, statistically speaking.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Business software is expensive. And when you buy software from lots of different companies, it's not only expensive, it gets confusing, slow to use, hard to integrate. Odoo solves that because all Odoo software is connected on a single affordable platform. Save money without missing out on the features you need. Odoo has no hidden costs and no limit on features or data. Odoo has over 60 apps available for any needs your business might have, all at no additional charge. Everything from websites to sales to inventory to accounting, all linked and talking to each other. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Mom, can I have Lingo Kids? Dad, Lingo Kids, please!
When did we become the Lingo Kids house?
No idea. Last week it was dinosaurs. This week it's...
Lingo Kids!
Why Lingo Kids?
Because it's the best thing ever. We can play games with astronauts, wild animals, and superheroes.
With more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows, Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids.
So, no dinosaurs?
And dinosaurs! Lingo Kids!
Everything kids love. Download it for free.
Professional wrestling fans, the action continues every week.
This is total nonstop action!
TNA Thursday Night Impact every week on AMC. For showtimes and more information, visit TNAWrestling.com.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.